Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have on LG. LG is from Thelma and the Sleaze, and I've actually just started listening to you past couple months, so I'm a pretty new fan. But I had to have you on. Just really enjoy your music.
Thank you.
What would you qualify your music? Not qualify. What would you say your sound is like? I hate describing a band's sound because I think it's kind of unfair to the band, but I hear a lot of influences, a lot of different stuff in it.
Yeah. I call it rock and roll
That's
because it
fine.
is rock and roll. And I think there are a lot of things that maybe other people don't consider rock and roll that I consider rock and roll. So uh I just call it rock and roll. It's about the energy and the intention.
Well, you have a lot of videos. You've the band's pretty not pretty new, like 2010, I think, right when you guys first became this version of the band, and you
Yeah.
guys have been pretty prolific on putting out music over the years too. You don't slow down, whether you're funding it and playing out and touring, and you're currently in between touring right now. So we talk about that. Is there a bigger challenge now? Because you actually were touring and doing some touring before COVID, the dirty word, and now afterwards, you know, is it a lot harder now?
Well, yes, it is. Well, it's not so much that it's harder, it's just presented new challenges. Because in a lot of ways, the way that I tour has gotten a little bit easier, thankfully.
Hmm.
In some ways, like I generally get paid now all the time.
That's super important.
And there's more people at our shows than have ever been at our shows. There's still not like crazy amounts, but there's more. And there's all these things that we're typically not touring in Honda Odyssey, which is nice because we toured in Honda Odyssey for 5 years.
Wow, good for
So,
you.
so those things are kind of not as present, but um, yeah, COVID has presented new challenges where, I got run on this last run and, uh, yeah, it was like, okay, what do we do now?
Right, right.
Where do we go? And how do I isolate and how do I make sure the other girls don't have it or get it? And
Hmm.
what shows do we need to cancel? And, how do we make it work? And how do we make sure the promoters are, we meet their standards, whatever they are. So, yeah, it was just like new challenges. And then also, like, we drove into the Northwest right as like a big spike happened. So, there was not just like our show getting canceled and moved, but then the bands that were supposed to play with us couldn't play with us. And then, venue staffing, so there was like a lot that happened. Um,
Which are
but
huge
yeah,
things for a band of your size because, I mean, even ginormous bands, one singer gets sick, that's it. Like, I mean, somebody catches it, it is annihilating huge tours. When you guys are working city to city and working,
no, we
you,
didn't cancel our whole
you can't,
tour. We
yeah, you
didn't
can't
do
afford
all
that.
that. No, we couldn't afford to do that. And also, I wasn't going to do that. It's not reasonable. Everyone who was involved obviously cares about people's well-beings. Everyone, we all did our best to make sure that we were going to keep people safe and not put anyone at risk, but at the end of the day we were all the way across the country. The gas was insane this tour. I mean,
Oh,
talking about 200 to $250 a day in gas alone when my guarantees are only $500. So you do the math when you pay your bandmates, $200 after you buy a meal for everyone, that leaves you with $0. So you have to sell merch. But then if all your profits come from merch, then you get home and guess what? You barely broken even and now you have to restock merch. So there's
well,
there's you wouldn't do this if you didn't love
right.
doing it.
That's one of the things I'd like to talk about in the show too, because like I said, I don't bands don't complain about it, but it's more prevalent. I think they should know, like with buy the merch, you gotta buy the merch, and it's not because the merch costs a certain price. The markup on it is so small for what it costs to make a shirt, or to if you're towing
Oh,
the merch
not
behind
not
you in a
my
car,
markup.
you're paying for the gas to tow the
Yeah.
merch, and then the clubs are taking a piece of the merch, and then which I never knew for the longest time. I'm like, that's like the mob,
Live
like
Nation. Yeah, Live Nation does that. And Live Nation is gonna be the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of bands my size being able to tour. Uh Live Nation is the devil. And we should all be scared of Live Nation and what they're gonna do to our local scenes and the ability of the working musician, the back breaking hardworking musicians that actually don't have all the industry help aren't going to be able. I mean, it's just
they have
not
the
in the future.
stronghold. I don't even know how anyone could, like, even as fans, like the prices are ridiculous. You know, if a show gets canceled, they still hold your tickets. They have like rights where you can't get your money back. I mean, it's literally like they got a lock on
Well, they
everything.
charge so much in fees that people don't want to buy pre-sales, and then they cancel your show because you didn't sell enough pre-sales.
Right.
you know, and it's like, here's the thing: these are rock shows. These aren't like pop shows. These aren't like, big touring shows. These are rock shows. People want to pay $10 or $15 cash. They want to come in. They want to drink, four or five tall boys, and they want to fucking buy a shirt and they want to go home. They don't
Right.
want to have to deal with all this, red tape and charts and graphs and checks and balances. It's bullshit. I hate Live Nation. I had a couple bad run-ins with Live Nation on this tour, and I basically told my agent, I said, I made a video on my Instagram that was basically like a, State of the Union kind of presidential address. And I told my agent, I said, if I do this, are you going to be mad? Because, obviously that reflects on him and he's a booking
Yeah.
agent. And he said, LG, you do whatever the fuck you want. And that's why he's my agent, because he doesn't try to, stifle me as far as like what my legacy is and what I want to say and what I want to do. So it works out good. But yeah, I basically put it all out there. And, I think if people think it's a joke, it's not a joke. It's not funny. I think with the way that real estate is now and the way that, you know, it costs so much to rent in big cities
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that you're going to be seeing a lot more Live Nation venues. You're going to be seeing a lot less mid-level independently owned clubs, which I've worked like my ass off for the last decade to get to. Um, and they're just shrinking. And then, where am I going to go? I'm going to go back to the dive bars. Okay, great. Which I love a dive bar. I love a house show. I've played, hundreds and hundreds of house shows and dive bars, but I have worked very hard and I try to get in these rooms. And one, they don't promote our show as much because our guarantee isn't as big as someone, who has that kind of muscle. And so they kind of don't prioritize us or know what to do with us. And then, or even promote to begin with. I mean, Live Nation, they throw shit up online and they're like, okay, cool, that's promoted. And it's like, that's
Well,
not
Live
really.
Nation's also more PG. You are rock and roll. You are raw rock and roll. You
Oh,
know.
100%. I mean, I
So
can't.
that's a challenge there, and that's what I like about you though. I like it's real. It's like Motorhead. It's like the Ramones. It's like it's real, you know,
Thank you.
and it's but it's also a financial challenge. In a band like you, what I would love to see is a band that's got a little more commercial swag, but also has its claws still into the market of yours and picks you guys up like underneath their wing so they can kind of like protect you
Well,
from one thing, like you make a baby bird, like protect you from the evilness of the industry, but get you out there on some bigger stages.
you know, we've had a lot of opportunities. And by we, I mean I, this band is my child, and I'm really the only consistent member aside from a couple that do also come and go as they please, So we've had a lot of those opportunities, and I just don't think that what we do is meant for mass consumption in this moment in time. And that doesn't, it
especially
bothers
right
me.
especially right now especially right now
Yeah, it used to bother me. It still, I'm not going to lie, it still bothers me when I see how artists are, you know, kind of what it takes slash what is valid in terms of success. But what I've done is I've blazed my own trail. And I'm not stupid. I wouldn't do it if it didn't get a little better every time. It does. But as far as us ever blowing up or ever being, I kind of stopped giving a fuck. You know what I
I could see
mean?
you, yeah, but I could see you guys get to a point where you become a comfortable touring,
But that's what we
cool,
are.
no, like a no, like a bigger venue band. We can
Oh,
live very
I
comfortably
would
and
hope
tour
so. I would hope so.
because I could see it because you're going to foster more of a real audience that's going to be loyal. You know,
Everyone that follows me is loyal. And
right?
that's one of the things that, again, keeps me doing it is knowing that I do have people who get what I do
But look
and
at the amount
that,
of
and
music you do, the creativity you do. What are you going to do? Pack envelopes like every day?
and
There's it's not in you. It's not in you to not be
well,
creative.
I'm going to do it regardless.
You know, as I'm
Yeah.
saying, I mean, you just have too much in you. I mean, with the amount of like EPs and then like you have your own podcast and your personality and your pictures. You're always doing something fun. You always have something going on. You know, I haven't seen you live yet. Even your videos, it's not. You know, you're not just like dialing it in. Your heart's on
Well,
your
the
sleeves,
live
hundred
show
percent.
is what people think is the best
Usually
thing
is
about
the
what we
selling point for
do.
every band. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Just I'm saying, just seeing what I've seen
Yeah. The one
flat on the
thing that
computer screen.
has the one thing that has been frustrating for me as a rock band as of late is the fact that a lot of the clubs that we're playing in aren't used to rock bands.
Yep.
They're used to like pop bands or garage bands or psych bands, kind of a set it and forget it kind of mentality when it comes to running sound. And also the houses aren't as loud as they used to be because a lot of these venues are in spaces that aren't even supposed to be venues. So the rooms aren't tuned to having loud music. So that's kind of been our Achilles heel as of late is that we're still really fucking loud and we're still a rock band that's very dynamic. We have low lows and high
Mm-hmm.
highs and getting in rooms where people actually, I've had to tell a lot of engineers as of late, like, no, I'm not turning my guitar amp down. Like, no, like, we're not doing that. Like, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but what I'm basically saying is like, this is a rock show. Like, if you stand in the middle of the room and you can have a fucking conversation, then,
It's not really a
you
rock
know,
show.
it's not a fucking rock show. Like, we were supposed to be loud. Our music is supposed to be played loud. It's not background music. It's not a Spotify playlist. It's fucking rock and roll. It's supposed to be
It's
loud. That's
Iggy and Stooges. This Motorhead. You can't be thinking during it. You
yeah.
can listen. You can't even think during it. It's gonna be so loud.
I mean, I told that we played a club. We did 2 nights in a club, and the first night people were posting videos, and I could hear people talking next to them. So the next night, because they pride themselves on being a rock club, I said, do you want this to be a rock club? You have to turn up the house. You have to crank the house because I'm telling you, I know when my audience is connected to the experience. I know when the music is so loud and powerful that they can like you literally are coming to a rock show to do,
Yeah.
which is to, like fucking block out the noise, and just be connected to the experience. And I know when that's happening and when it's not loud enough in the house, they can't do that. And then the second night they turned it up in the fucking house and you could just see people like, you know,
Pulls you in.
banging their heads and fucking just being so excited and stoked. And that's, you know, luckily I could have that conversation because we played another night, but I can't always have that conversation. And a lot of these sound people just, well, they don't know any better. They've never seen a huge rock show. They don't even know what a fucking rock show is. That's why they come up and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you need to turn on your amp." Well, if I'm not feeding back on stage, I'm not going to turn down my amp. I'm going to
Well,
leave my amp right where it is and you figure it out, asshole. It's like this is why
yeah.
people are at a rock show. I don't give a shit what you say.
I think, and this is funny because I had interviewed and right I think prior around the same time period you did you got to Corey Parks, National Pussy. That band is a band I think would probably have a harder time like cutting its way in because you're like, what do you compare it to? You know what I mean? You know, and it's the same thing. You're gonna have to just knock the doors down because it's the same way.
That's what I've been doing. And the thing that's given me hope as of late, and I talked about this on my podcast, and I've talked a lot about it this year, is that there's a generation under the generation that's making music right now that I think
Okay.
is more creative and feels a little slighted because they're looking around and all the bands that they have to choose from suck. So they're like very respectful of me and my band and what I've done in a way that I can't really speak to the generation above them. They also put on a show, the bands that I've been playing with that are younger get dressed, write good songs. They're trying to do something individual. They're
Hmm.
messing around with, their ideas and their concepts and coming up with something that is really interesting. And it's like raw as fuck. Like they're pissed as they should be. I think it's an exciting time to see these younger bands that are coming up and how much they are going to bring, to the table, because yeah, there's a lot of good things on the horizon, and
That,
that's
good to see
good.
because I don't see. I think one of the things about your band is I don't see like I don't saw this on like an Instagram where they're talking to this one person. You can be on Instagram and have 20,000 followers, 30,000, but if you go to a club, is that going to translate? Probably not.
Well, it does translate. There are a lot of bands that have great Instagram followers. I mean,
I mean the other way, starting as an Instagram person and being mostly Instagram in your bedroom, and then going out to try to tour with the big, probably more of a pop thing.
oh yeah,
I think
no.
there's some weird numbers going on where they're
Well,
smoke and mirrors.
there's whole bands that have built their following on having great Instagram
Yes.
pictures. And I'll look and I'll say, man, this band hasn't even been around for a couple of years. And I'll look at how big they are and I'll be like, every single thing that they do is curated and perfectly tailored to whatever audience that they're
Hmm.
trying to um do. And there's nothing, to me, there's nothing particularly good or great about the bands, but they are meeting the criteria for the audience that they're trying to interact with. So that's a way to do it. And that is, I know what people want to see me do. They want to see me belt out bluesy songs like Janis Joplin and play,
Hmm.
slashy fucking melodic solos. And I know that because I look at what spot our what our most popular Spotify songs are, and I
Yeah.
that's what they are. That's what people like. I just refuse to do it because as an artist, I think I would probably jump off a bridge if I if I did whatever anyone expected. Or and also I just it's like rock and roll, that's the whole point of playing it to me, is just about expression and about just like being able to push boundaries and being able to have this medium to take all these influences and build your own house. So I know what people want. They want us to pander to the male gaze. They want us to uh do all this shit that's just like been done before. I mean, there are plenty of all female rock bands out there. It's not a novelty anymore. If you want the Runaways, there's plenty of bands that are trying to sound like the Runaways. We're not trying to do that. We're not trying to rehash old old tired themes. Like everybody, like I said, I feel very grateful because the fans that I have, which are, maybe not a huge amount, but the fans that I do have appreciate that I don't do that.
Right.
They appreciate that I'm doing something original. And I think they're as frustrated as I am. They're looking at me and they say, why aren't you this? Why aren't you this? Why don't you have this? And it's like, look, I've had all the breaks that a person could have. I've done all the things that a person could do. And I'm not discrediting those experiences. They were all great experiences. But what I'm doing is so much my own thing that it's going to take it's going to take years for people to catch on, And like I said, the generation under, like the kids that I see coming up now, the 19 to like 23 set,
Hmm. Hmm.
those kids are doing cool shit. and they're doing their own shit, which makes me think that that's my new audience, you know, and that's how it's split, you know, because for some reason they have a better bullshit filter than this other generation and my generation I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
um so that's exciting, but at the same time it's like whether anyone ever recognizes it on a wide scale is not for me. I know that to a lot of people I'm already living my dream. I tour constantly and, you know, am able to pay my rent and keep my lights on and pay women that I think are excellent at playing rock and
Hmm.
roll to play rock and roll. So
It
all of
wouldn't suck
those
if it got a
things.
little easier for you, though. I mean, people think it's so
Yeah.
glamorous, and even at the higher levels, it's hard to perform
Yeah,
and
that's what
and
everyone
move on a
does.
bus and eat and take care of things. It's not that easy to and smile at everybody. And
Sometimes
you're
I think that people think that, oh, if you're successful, it gets easier. Like even bitches I tour with, they'll be like, oh yeah, this person tours on a bus or blah blah. And I'm like, it sucks too. It all
still on a
sucks.
bus. I mean, it's a nicer
You
place
know,
to sleep, or and it's
your
safer to keep your
your
stuff. But
mindset, your perspective is your cage. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And like if you to me, I think that's partly why I haven't been super successful is because I won't lie, like I'm a little scared of success. I don't think it would be as fun. I don't think it would matter as much to me, the wins that I have. And also I think the part of the joy of touring for me and the part of the joy of playing music is not knowing what the fuck is going to happen.
be more
I mean,
successful.
I grew up in a very chaotic, very unbalanced, very toxic environment. So like this is all I know. This is all I know. It's just like dealing with intense personalities and trying to mediate some kind of like happiness and optimism in dire situations and entertain people. So I don't really, I often sometimes wonder if I should like talk to a spirit guide or someone who can fucking like maybe help me get
Kind
through that mindset of like, God, it would be fucking boring to be successful and I'd be a tool like a lot of these people who are successful. They seem like tools, you know?
well, it
Like,
depends on how you handle it and how much you get trapped in that cage. If all of a sudden, if like you're like this isn't you, but then you realize your band members or people on your crew are living and taking care of their well, so and so who's you have a crew all of a sudden, and you get these people, and how you do allows them to keep working and taking care of their things and their kids, and also you're responsible. Like you're like I don't have kids, why am I responsible for the whole crew and their kids? Like it becomes larger, and then even if you don't want to be commercially trapped, you may feel obligated internally because of the people you have around you that are depending on you.
yeah. I mean,
And that's a different moral thing.
I would like to be successful so that I had more money to be disruptive and spread my propaganda and also to finance the other women in my band who I genuinely feel like have no other purpose in life other than to play rock and roll, but have to do other bullshit because it sucks. But
Yeah.
it's really why. And also because I could afford more lap dances.
That's funny.
Me.
If it's on the back of a shirt, that's a quote for you right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you. So you do write a lot, a lot. Is that just something I assume I have the feeling it probably just comes out of you. Like you don't have to sit down to songwriting time for the new albums coming up. Like you just have an idea. You're just it comes when it comes.
Well, there's two, like a lot of people who write songs. And thank you for asking me about writing songs because I feel like whenever I do interviews, no one asks me about that. They're like, "What's the craziest thing you ever seen on tour?"
I talk about like this stuff, the real stuff, because you're a real
Well, it's more
band. I talked to you're a
interesting.
real person. Well, yeah. I mean, I can you can go on Wikipedia and you can do that and you can watch this other stuff, but I try not to do that.
Well, the whole thing with the songwriting process for me is I get ideas and I usually voice memo those ideas
Hmm.
or make a video of myself. Like I'll noodle on guitar or I'll just have an idea because something has happened in my life. A lot of times, I don't know why my brain has always gone to songwriting as like therapy, but I guess it was because like I grew up in such a traumatic environment that I could play guitar and I could write songs. So that's just like what I would do when something bad happened or when I was in a
Yeah.
period of my life where I needed some sort of therapy or way of expressing myself and how I was feeling. So it's always, I mean, every song I've ever written usually starts out as uh I'm I have an idea and then I'll come up with a riff or something, or I'll be noodling and I'll come up with something and then I'll keep that. And then when I do go to make a record, I usually go back through all those ideas
Hmm.
and then I make a actual demo where I take that idea and either I build the drums, I build the bass, I build the keys, I build whatever background vocals I'm hearing, whatever lead guitar parts, and then I build that out in an actual demo. And then either I love the demo and it becomes a song for Thelma and the Sleaze. Some things that aren't for Thelma and the Sleaze. Some things are I put away and I have like I started like 4 or 5 years ago, like a fan exclusive Dropbox link where people gave me whatever they could afford and they could have access to this Dropbox link with
Like old
all,
school Patreon account.
yeah, basically like a Patreon before Patreons. And the thing was, you only had to pay for it once, and you pay whatever you thought it was worth to hear kind of just my ideas.
Hmm.
And which is to me would be exciting because you could hear the ones that actually became Thelma and the Sleaze songs, or you would have this secret song that you didn't even, you know, wouldn't have thought that I would do, because I write a lot of stuff that doesn't even sound remotely like Thelma and the Sleaze. And some of that stuff has made its way into Thelma and the Sleaze, and maybe it'll be on the record or something, but it'll never come out live, or it'll never. It's like there are little things that have come out that,
Demos are fun. Like if you're a real fan of the band, like when
yeah,
like when an album comes out, and like, oh, we're gonna do an anniversary, and we'll put these demos on. Everyone's like, boo. I'm like, no, the demo. I already have the album, the first half of it,
yeah.
and if it's remastered, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not. I'm like, but let's check out the demo part.
The demos to me are the coolest part. If I could just put out demos, I mean, I did put out my last EP. It's is all a little better than demos. I mean, I definitely spent more time making them sound better, but I basically recorded all of it
What
in
about the
my
lyrics
demo.
though?
Yeah.
Are you
The
doing those at
lyric,
the same time or are those last?
well, usually, like I said, I start out with a line, like I'll be driving or something will happen or I'll strum something on guitar. So the lines usually come before, really. I mean, there really are just moments where I just grab my guitar and I just start playing a song. Whether, you know, and I don't worry about the theory of it. I don't worry about anything. I'm writing this song and I'm trying to really, I'm just more concerned with the tone. Like, what am I trying to express in this moment? And I've, as much as I have become a better musician in like a theoretical sense, I still try to write songs from that place where it's just like I'm trying to get a point across and I want to make music to kind of like, if you listen to our song I Ain't Your Baby No More, it's like one chord the entire time, but there's a whole atmosphere about it. There's a whole dynamic shifts. There's lots of dynamic shifts inside that song that, you know, to me is how always interested, like why I don't get compared to the Stooges more, because when you listen to a song like that where it's just like so repetitive but also like kind of hypnotizing and
Mm-hmm.
just so like intense, and there's so much like starting out from this tone to this, now I'm screaming, like, which isn't intentional, but when I hear that I think like, damn, that's like kind of the Stooges, like, and I like I said, it's like there's 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 all kinds of different ways that they come, but they all end up either being demoed by me in my house, and I usually try to demo them to completion. And that's also for songwriting, like publishing purposes, because
Yeah.
I don't
So you get the
want
money.
anyone to take credit for anything that they didn't do, which still happens. But it's like you weren't there. Like, here's the tape, literally of me writing this song, and like, oh, I wrote that, and I'm like, you didn't. But people are people like to try to inject their shit onto your shit, but it's fine. But yeah,
But it's a
it's
challenge though as a touring musician at your level because then if they're not a piece of the pie, why are they going to want to be a piece of the band if they're depending on touring?
Yeah.
Everyone wants a piece of the publishing because you get your hands on something else, and
Well, assuming that anything ever came of anything, yes, that
I'm
would be
not
nice.
saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's always a
Yeah.
struggle with being a songwriter and a leader of the band.
Well, the good thing is that I do those demos so that there's no question of where it all comes from. And when those kinds of things have arose, it's always been like, check the cassette tapes. I
Yeah.
have all these cassette tapes and they're all the whole song pretty much. So that's that's usually how it comes about. And then I play it for the girls. If the girls whoever I'm playing, I mean, I have at this point I've had 26 bandmates. I have like a core 12 that I actually like try to stay within that rotation. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
have to go outside of that, but usually there's a core group of ladies that and there's women inside of that group that I bounce ideas off of, whether they're playing with me at the time or not, just
Mm-hmm.
because I respect their
Opinion.
opinions. And either they'll be like, that's dope, or they'll be like, that sucks, you know? And then I'll keep working on it some more. They'll be like, I would like it better if that. And I'll be like, okay, cool. But yeah, I usually bounce off my ideas mostly to like Coochie or Pigpen or Chase, my tenderizer. She's not been in my band for 6 years at this point, but I still value her opinion.
The other
So
thing is, I think, and it's funny because sometimes a band will get together and you'll have a core songwriter, and we've watched a million behind the music growing up, my age group. You see, and I've actually talked to artists that what'll happen is they'll write an album and everyone loves the album and does pretty well. We're not talking platinum, we're talking big, right? And then the band sees that the main songwriter, they didn't care, the guitar players and singer or whatever, getting extra, on the side because they wrote the song. Also, everybody else in the band wants to write. And then if you're, all right, well, then we'll do it. But then the sound drastically will change a lot. And if you like a band, a lot of artists will be like, well, the second album wasn't as good. And you start looking at the songwriting credits and like everybody and their mother's on that songwriting. And so it changes the sound of the band at times. That's a danger, you know.
yeah, the
Especially if you had
only
26 people writing with you. But what the
yeah,
hell's your sound?
the only thing that really, like, take for instance our new album that we're just finishing, Kuchi would probably I would say, like, she plays the organs, and I can kind of just like barely show people what I want them to
Mm-hmm.
do on the keys, but and I try to do as much as that with Kuchi as I can. But at the end of the day, like, she's level 100, like advanced, like fucking like an actual
Player.
iconic keys player. And so there are going to be moments where she's playing around with sounds or she's coming up with parts to like fill in the blanks where I left shit out, that she might come up with something that I go, oh, like we should build off of that, or we should see, I
Mm-hmm.
like that direction you're going. Let's go all the way in that direction. But it's never come into question whether I wrote this. Like, the song is the melody and the lyrics. Anything outside of those things that's going to happen, um and like I pull a lot of shit out of the people I play with when I'm in the songwriting process and I'm coming up with parts and stuff, because there are things I can't play. So if I'm playing, which is like why Coochie and Pigpen are on the record, is because Coochie and Pigpen, they are both people I can say, hey, I want this sound, or hey, I want this feeling, or hey, try to build that out more in this section. Like, if they take that and they know most generally what I'm talking about, and they
Mm-hmm.
can execute that and how I'm hearing it. So like there are people I play with that I wouldn't expect that from, and I don't have that trust with, but there are
Right.
other ones that I do. And like I said, they would never ask for credit for my songs, but if the chef came and I was literally like, you know, um able to get on that level or whatever, like there's no
Flexibility.
question there's no question that I would take care of Coochie, or I
Yeah.
would take care of Pigpen, or I would take care of these members of my band that I actually, obviously there's other ones in there, but like it just wouldn't even be a
Right.
question that I would do that, because you know they're maybe they don't inject their own creative ideas into our songs
Right, right.
necessarily in a way that really changes the song, but like their presence and their energy obviously is going to influence. And I do play with a lot of women that I like so much and I like their playing so much that I can just basically be like, you come play on this record or you come play this show because I think you're going to, complement whatever I'm trying to do at the time, which is a nice thing, because everyone plays differently. And I know my fans who have been seeing us play for years and years know that there are certain lineups that, there's so many different lineups. Like every time I play, it's a different lineup, but there are certain lineups that just like everything has its own vibe. And that's why it's exciting. I hope for my fans to get to see us. Maybe they're like, oh, I want to hear it the way it sounds on the record. Well, then go listen to the
Look at the
record.
record, right?
Yeah. Like, I personally think it's exciting to get to play with, and hopefully my fans think it's exciting to get to see all the different women that connect to the songs and want to be a part of the experience. So
I think it's kind of easy. It's an auxiliary list. Usually, bands usually break up and have to keep bringing in people on tour. You've kind of just start out with your own list of people to keep working with you. And so one of the things I do like, I like your SG guitar.
yes,
Love SG. I love that guitar of yours. It's
I don't see an SG back there.
I don't have one. I know. I have
Why
some more
not?
upstairs. So the one I want to get, I ain't got money for right now.
Oh,
And usually, I like to get my guitars at pawn shops, and
oh, I
then
know.
go from there. The Aria Pros in '83, I got that for like $40 online. I get a lot of my guitars. I find them real cheap, and then I just build them up.
Nice.
It's more fun, but I can't afford it. I want the kind of SG I want is like real expensive. And then you still don't know if it sounds good because sometimes it's not as good as the used one.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know that I would buy a new guitar. It takes so long to break them in.
Right, that's the whole point. You
Yamaha
don't know.
Yamaha sends me great new guitars that I love, but it takes me a while to build to like really but I do play a lot at home, so I just try to use the new ones as my practice guitars. My
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
it's awesome. I see in your videos and stuff. I love it. I noticed it as like a sweet looking guitar.
yeah,
Sounds good.
she's my pride and joy. And yeah, sometimes I just look at her and I think, wow, that's my guitar. That's fucking crazy.
It is. It's your guitar. It's definitely your guitar. Your
Yeah.
sound is. It's the one. I connect that one with you most. Um, but so people need to check you out on your website, and you also do a cool podcast. I don't know how often
Hmm.
you're doing it because I know you're touring and stuff, but it's pretty
Yeah,
fun. I
now that
enjoy
I'm
it.
back
You're
on
you're,
the
you're right from the
road,
hip. So
thank you. Now I'm back on the road. I think we're gonna try to do 6 episode seasons, like maybe once or twice a year.
yep.
So my goal is to get to 100 episodes, but you know, it's just a matter of I don't want to do it. It's not like I don't want to do it if it's not
Good.
I'm not getting the right interviews or the people I really want to talk
Hmm.
to. I try to like interview people I don't really want to talk to, and it didn't go very well. So I'd rather just wait and find the right people and that I'm actually interested in what they have to say and that I feel like contribute to the podcast,
Yeah.
because it really is supposed to be about women who are uncompromising and who I respect and whose path to success or definition of success maybe isn't, the norm and how, how they achieve that.
Well, I'm gonna encourage people to check that out and check out your. So you have a newer album too, because you have a couple things out for releases.
Yes, I have two releases out right now. Sacred as Hell, which is the EP I did in quarantine. I did that at my house. Um, Me and my drummer Pigpen sent that record back and forth over the internet and just kind of figured it out. And I definitely was on the fences, like, oh, should I put this out as like an actual Thelma the Sleaze release? But because I mixed it and put it together myself. But then I was like, it was just such an important thing to me at that time because it was so reflective of what being in quarantine was
Hmm.
like for me. And it was just such a great record of like what my home studio was at. And it just like the lyrics and everything is just really about being stuck in your house and having really only your interactions with people were on the internet and how infuriating that was, you know? So I needed to put it out, and I'm glad I did because there are some real gems on there, and it might not be super high fi or, it sits somewhere between a studio album and demos. It's just kind of in its own little area, and I'm really proud of it. Obviously there are things I hear now, even just having recorded it and gone through the process. I'm like, I could have boosted that, or this sounds better, but I'm not going to go backwards. So then after I did that EP, I did a live session on some live session website thing for during COVID, and we recorded it all at this great studio in Muscle Shoals. Which actually we did not record it at Jackson Highway, even though Jackson Highway is on the cover. We did it at another studio here, which to me is a cooler studio. Maybe not historically, but just like,
Yeah, I
you
saw the
know,
muscles. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, we did record it in Muscle Shoals, but it's not at Jackson.
that
That's an
that's
exclusive
good.
for your podcast. But yeah, well, I did that session as a record release for Sacred as Hell. So a lot of the songs on Sacred as Hell, if you're hearing them and you're like, man, I can't handle this lo-fi quality, this isn't for me. If you buy the Live from Muscle Shoals CD, we do the whole record live from start to finish in this really nice studio, and it's not mixed really. It's very live, but it sounds so good. I listened to it again the other day, and I was just like, wow, it's so good. And there's a live version of High Class Woman and a live version of Hot Steam on that record. That, and I say live, but it's live in studio, so it's like to me it was important to do that because the way that we play those songs, High Class Woman and Hot Steam, are like so different from how they are on the record, and I really wanted to have updated versions of those. So I would say that Sacred as Hell and Live from Muscle Shoals are good brother sister releases because neither of which are conventional studio albums. But if you like Sacred or Hell as Hell, or you appreciate that record, but you're like, I want more fidelity, the Live from Muscle Shoals record has all those songs. And I'm never going to put the Live from Muscle Shoals record up on streaming. It's only available on CD through our website. So, but you
Oh
can get
wow,
both of them on our website. Sacred.
draw a foot in the thing, right? Just put it out there.
Well, I just
Some people don't have CD players.
well, they can go to Goodwill and get one. There's some, I'm sorry, there's some things that sound good on cassette. There are some things that sound good on vinyl, and there are some things that sound good on a CD. And
Most
this
things sound good
record,
on vinyl.
yeah, this record actually sounds really good on CD. It has a lot of low end. It has a lot of just like I said, it's just, I know you're gonna think I'm full of shit, but it sounds really good on
I have
CD.
I have a recording degree, so I know about compression and
Yeah,
everything else. I
but nothing to me sounds good on Spotify. So,
Yeah, I don't really listen to I
so,
don't really listen
and
to
then
much.
we just finished a new album called an actual studio album called Holy Water that's gonna come out either December, January next year, and it's gonna be 10 songs
Next year,
and
as in like 23, not like as in this coming up December.
2023. Yeah, December. No, no, no. It should be this December slash
Okay, I could be
January.
like, yeah, 'cause
I'm
like a
trying to
year and a half
pressure
away.
them to get it done by December, but I don't know that that's really actually going to happen. I think it'll probably be more like January, but I try to put pressure on myself and other people for no
Well,
reason.
that's a good time to get out though for records. If you can, that's the time period.
I wanted to
The
come out on
Thanksgiving
Christmas.
holiday. You want to get out before the holidays, before the big buying
Well,
Christmas. You can kind of press
at
her.
least have this single out on Christmas, the
Right.
first single to like get the hype going. But it's it's a more live sounding record than my last record, but there are some really nice like production touches, and the playing on it's just phenomenal. Like I said, there's if you like Thelma the Sleaze, I should hope that you like the Motown kind of soulful Thelma the Sleaze, the blues rock and roll Thelma the Sleaze, and the kind of electronic sounding like 80s Thelma the Sleaze. and the heavy fucking Sabbath sounding Thelma
I think
Sleaze.
if you just like it from what I've heard and from what you have up now, you either like you or you don't. You know,
Yeah, no,
it's really what it comes down
100%.
to. I don't think.
But everything that I think people do like about us is present on this album, and
Okay.
there's some new stuff too. So vocally, I feel like it's my best performance, and you know, the players on it are excellent, and we made it happen in a time when making shit happen is extremely frustrating. So I'm excited for people to hear it. So yeah, I was
So
like,
far
what
away
did I
though.
do
You'll have a
over
new album by
COVID?
then. By the it
Do
comes out,
I?
you'll be ready for another album already by then. Just have hold on to it.
I am always ready for a new album.
Your
I
tour's gonna
always
have to keep you busy, right?
I always have at least 10 ideas in the barrel ready to
Ready to
shoot.
go.
So hearing all the different influences that are there. So I
Oh, I
appreciate
like that. I like that. But I hate to say it out loud because I feel like when somebody says it out loud, if somebody's in the car or whatever, they're watching this on YouTube or wherever, however, whatever, and you hear they sound like I don't know, ZZ Top and LSD. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying something crazy out there, and they're like, that's what's in their mind. It also becomes a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to put that out there. You guys, I
Oh
think
yeah.
rock is just rock, and you'll hear different influences, but it creates its own sound, and that's why you can't compare it. That's probably the
Yeah.
difference for
Yeah.
me.
No,
You know,
thank you for hearing that, and thank you for having me. And
well,
good luck with your podcast, if that's what you call it.
I don't even know what you call it anymore because it is on YouTube and it's a podcast everywhere. It's
Yeah.
just, well, thank you. I just
Well, your
do,
interview show.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. I enjoy sharing. I talk about music and sharing with other people. So, it's all good, right? That's what we
Yeah.
do. All right, so people check the links on the podcast on YouTube. The links are there. People know by now to watch it. And have you come back again when your album's out or something? You want to come back? We'll keep promoting you.
Yeah.
Once you're
Yeah.
on the
Thank you
show.
for giving me a platform to spread the sleaze. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Like that's right. This
Hopefully I'll
leaves.
hear